Why am I looking like a Godzilla movie? And why am I so excited about this piece? Well, I'll tell you why. First, this piece right here is my two favorite characters in an epic diorama. Stay tuned to find out about Godzilla. Welcome Extreme Team, my name is Mr. X and this is the Extreme Channel. So what's going on today is I'm reviewing this film and I'm shooting at my office, and as you know I had some audio issues last time. So with that being said, what we're going to do today is we're going to use a brand new microphone that didn't record a damn thing. So it is what it is, but I still want to voice over this review for you because it's so awesome and I wanted to get it out to you as soon as possible. So we're going to cover that in this awesome piece today. Now this is officially a 1/4 scale custom, meaning a private commission, they only made 20 of these, Venom vs. Hulk diorama. And these are two of my favorite characters. If you follow the channel for a long time, you know that. And this is from one of the custom groups out there that's just simply on fire, so I couldn't resist. I'm so glad I have them in hand. There were some concerns I had during the process, which is why I don't like to look at work in progress pictures, but we're going to look at everything today because he's going to go right behind me. He's going to be part of the Hulk vs. Venom wall, kind of a right in between piece. So let's start with the extreme review on this piece, starting with concept. Does it look cool? Does it follow the source material? I don't think there's actually any source material for this. It just came out of the creator's mind. So therefore, we're just going to look at, is it cool? Does it represent the characters right? So starting at the base, you have a black museum sub-base that I don't think is needed, but it looks like a New York City street. Not only can you see that it's completely collapsed by the fight, but there's a few things going on. You see some post-tension cables, some sewers, a fire hydrant. You're going to see a light post in the back. And in here, it actually looks like Hulk is winning. He's bending Venom over. Not in that way, you sicko. But he's bending Venom over. He has his arm. He has his head. But what I like, it's not a clear defeat. You know, when you're creating a diorama between two characters, you don't want to disappoint either person's fans. So I like how they did that they're still both struggling together. Venom could be winning. He's not completely destroyed. Hulk has a very fierce face on him. This is the Kirby portrait. He has another portrait we're going to look at in a second. You can see behind it, it is New York with Wall and New Street, the street light above it, just destroying the city as they destroy each other. So with this overall, you know, it's great that they tied in both characters together, some of their origins. It's unique. No one else has done this for concept. But honestly, I think it's great, but it's not really blowing my mind out. The dynamic part is awesome, but I think I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 simply for the fact I have such attachment to the characters. It would normally probably be lower, honestly. So now let's look at design, and there's some really good things and then some problematic things as well. So hang on, I'm playing with myself. Nope. I'm looking something up on my phone. Alright, while we do that, I'll show you the assembly. So it was a pretty large box, pretty heavy, 33 kilograms, and your custom black foam. Now there was an actual art box on it, which surprised me, and I didn't get a good look at it, but you can see the side of it right here. Had 3 different layers. This is layer number 1, pretty much all the miscellaneous pieces. Layer number 2 was the 2 bodies, and then layer number 3 was the base, which is monstrous. Here's a good perspective to see how big that base really is. And you will notice that as I put Hulk in there, and he's at a leaning position, so you wanted to make sure you got him right. It is a little bit blurry, but this was 3 in the morning, so just cut me a break. And then Venom keyed in a very leaning position as well, and you also had to gently rest him against Hulk. You know, because in a fight like that, you gently rest against each other and hug and hold. Maybe they're just trying to keep warm. But I wanted to make sure that everything looked like it was straight. It's a very dynamic piece, as you can see. And then you have to assemble the arms. Now the thing with the arms is it leaves a really nasty seam line. You can kind of see it right there. But you have to assemble the arms separately around Venom. There's no way they could have shipped it like that. It would have broken for sure. Same thing with Venom's head. One of the things we're going to look at is it's really genius that some of the nasty seam lines, like Venom's head and Venom's wrists that I just put together, Hulk's hands are covering them up. You can see it right here. So here I actually raised the camera a little bit to make it taller because the street light is so freaking tall. I did measure it, but I don't remember it because I can't hear what I said, but I think the street light was about 30 inches and then the base was about 24 by 24 inches. So you had a fire hydrant here, which I don't know if Venom's foot is supposed to be resting against it, but mine had a little bit of a gap. I don't know if it was a QC issue or supposed to be like that, like he was just kicking off of it. Then the street lamp had two signs on it. One fit really easy, the other one I had issues with. So I decided to go look at some of these steel wrought iron pipes and things like that that pop out of the back. Now they did not fit very well. And I don't know if it was because I only had like 2 hours of sleep or if the directions weren't the best. They did have an assembly video that I ended up watching, and you're going to see me disappear and come back. That's because I was watching that video. So I gave it another go at the other street sign, and it worked fine that time, so it was user error. But these rod iron beams in the back, they do not fit in well. Not only do they not fit in well, but they're not really needed. Not only are they at the back of the statue, but they actually stick out to take up more room. So I kept going at it because there's like essentially 4 different ways it could go in and then 2 different ones which went on which side. The directions seemed pretty clear, but because it didn't work that way, I kept trying it different ways over and over. So this is, I don't know if it's a design flaw from QC or a design flaw from creation, or it could just be user error that you need more than 2 hours of sleep before you put this together. However, when I finally did get it together, there still seemed to be a noticeable gap in the back. But again, I'm not going to cry over it because it's in the back. I think these just weren't needed. And even if you leave them out, there's not really a big issue. I want to say this part of the assembly took 80% of it. And then you also have some, post-tension cable in the concrete up front. Again, I don't think this was needed. It's a cool extra design, but they fall out anyway. I know when I moved this over to its shelf right afterwards, they just kept falling out. And I'm pretty sure I had them in right, but could be user error again. There are 2 switch out options as well for Hulk Portrait. So one is kind of a modernized take, and I don't know which one I like better. Sometimes I look at this one and I like it better, and then sometimes I like the Kirby style head. What's cool about this is the seam line is not very visible right here. While it's visible in some other areas, this seemed fine. Now here is a seam line on Hulk's arm. It's not the best. Thankfully, you really can't see it from the front. It is what it is. And then even Venom, like on his wrist, the seam line's pretty nasty, but this is facing the back of the statue. So you have to actually look behind the statue to see it, because on front, Hulk's hand actually covers it right here. So I think it was smart how they did that. So the cons on the design are obviously some of those seam lines and how things fit together, but it's very dynamic. I like how smart some of the design was. I love the 2 heads portraits, so I think it's 3 out of 5. Or very nice, right in the middle. Pros and cons. Now before we jump into paint and sculpt, I want to ask how this Godzilla format's treating you. Is it really pissing you off? Is it making your day really bad? Wow, you live a tough life. But I just wanted to get this piece out, so I appreciate you guys hanging in with me that are bearing with it. But right now, let's do a video of the paint and sculpt. All right, so much going on here. Let's just start at the bottom. Black museum base that we talked about kind of has this 3-tier rigid steps. It looks fine. Like I said, I think this was totally unneeded, more of a conceptual thing. And part of the paint is mixed in with the dirt, which I think that's a little bit of a miss. I don't know if that was intentional to try and blend it, but I'm not liking that. I think it's really one of the only misses on the paint. And as you move up, I would like to see more texture on this earthy tone. It looks more of a, kind of like a blobular, and it's not maybe that there's not enough texture, but maybe if it was just done a little bit differently. One thing I like, you see all these details here. You see the power cords to the street light. See where it's anchored in the ground, the sewers. There's some good paint on that, some old paint. I like how when you see the side view, it's not just straight cement. You can actually see what's technically underneath the cement. Gives a little bit of age and wear. I really like the top of the cement here, not only the sculpt, but the paint. They have the yellow running street lines down the middle. Then these good variations in color and how it's broken up in so many different places. The weight of these characters maybe slamming each other on the ground. Very, very cool. And again, it just looks great. I think it looks like real street. Let's look at the street light really quick. I like how they have the power cords running up, the red and blue ones that we saw underground. And there's some good fading on this. You can tell it's been weathered out for a while. Now the scale, we didn't really talk about this. Obviously it's not to scale. Well, maybe it is because they are such giant characters. But it looks good. The sign's all worn. And let's take a look at the fire hydrant really quick here. Looks good, faded, kind of an older one. It might be a little big scale-wise. But let's look at Venom first. I love the job they did on Venom. So when you do a Venom suit, you can go all black, black with a little bit of blue in it. Here they went a ton of blue, and it actually works really well with the statue. It makes it look like the suit is alive and moving. And it looks a little bit different because I have these bright spotlights shining on it. And the anatomy of Venom is all over the place, but that's a good thing. This is kind of like a creature-esque Venom with bumps in his skin. He has these awesome claws down here, and they are like nail claws. Sometimes the claws on Venom are part of the suit. That is not the case here. And I like the size of him as well. So many more "that's what she said" jokes I could have here. Now, on the Venom Spidey symbol, the Spider-Man symbol, they didn't have any blue in here, and it's usually they have a little hint of blue. They avoided that, and I like that actually, because otherwise I think the blue would have been overpowering. Let's check out his portrait. I'm not a fan of the portrait. The sculpt is good. I think the teeth, there was definitely some opportunity around the teeth. They look a little bit fake, maybe if they were more jagged, more in different places. And they could have used a gloss coat on the tongue to give him a little bit more drool. I'm not a fan of the green drool that they give on Venom. Now his eyes are more of a silver. Maybe it's just white with a lot of black shadowing that makes it look like that, where typically you see them a lot whiter. And I think that contrasts really well with what they did with the teeth, even though I'm not a fan of that. Now looking at Hulk, Hulk is great. I think the anatomy's done pretty well. The paint is kind of this boring green where Hulk traditionally is. This does definitely look like a comic Hulk, so I appreciate that. You do see a ton of veins running out. He's very bulky. He's more of a comic character than, I want to say, like a humanoid, so not what a realistic take on him. Maybe a few too much veins, especially when you see so many on his arms but not as many in the other places. And then while this isn't my favorite portrait, it looks really good. The gums are a little bit too big for me, but the paint job's really clean on this. Maybe some more strands in the hair with the sculpt would have helped as well. So I think some opportunity on the sculpt, but the paint looks great. And then I'll do a still shot here for the other Kirby portrait. So I like the paint a lot. I think that they did a good job, especially with the street base and Venom particularly. Hulk could have been a little bit better. So I think let's give the paint actually a 4 out of 5. I don't think the sculpt is as good as the paint. I think there's some misses, especially when we talked about the area below the concrete. Hulk himself seems a little bit bland. Venom's portrait, even some of the Hulk portraits like we talked about. So I think overall that would be a 3 out of 5 on the sculpt. So with value, let's talk about this piece. It only cost $870 because this was when this commission group was new, and usually when they're new they do a cheaper price just to help out buyers and of course get brand recognition. But shipping was like $500. That was economy, which was a pain in the ass. So you're about $1,300 all in. Definitely can get your money back because they only made 20 of these, plus I think 20 of the variants with the gray Hulk. So overall, I think value is very good on this piece. Probably a 4 out of 5 for $1,300 all in. Huge, massive piece, 2 different characters. Great job. So overall, does this piece have the X factor? What does that mean? It's not a cumulative score, but it's how do I feel when I look at it. And I think because these are my favorite characters, I like it a lot. I mean, I love the piece. However, I think the X factor, the final score, is actually a 3 out of 5 on this statue. I think there's definitely some room for opportunity. I love the fact that it's the only piece of Hulk vs. Venom out there. I would love to see another concept of it as well, because I think there's a lot of good ideas that can be done. So thanks for hanging in there with me, guys. I know it was really weird, but I didn't want to wait 4 more days to get this out and spend all the time reshooting. So make sure to hit that Mr. X logo. Make sure you like this video and leave a comment. It really helps the channel. Also, check out some of these other custom statue reviews. Talk to you tomorrow. Take care.